All right, we are live. I am Bravo One Rescue, Kevin to the rest of the world, and we are going to be talking grappling competition. And I'm a white belt with 2 stripes. Been doing jiu-jitsu since late July, early August. I have 1 competition under my belt, and I'm here with Scott with Modern Samurai Project, and with Jeff, who is with, or he's a wrestling coach. He teaches high school wrestling. So, Scott, would you tell everybody who you are, who you be?
Who I be? All right. So I'm the dude of many nicknames. So my name is Scott. I run Modern Samurai Project, which is the name of my side business, which is a side self-defense training business focusing on jiu-jitsu and firearms. My nickname is also Jedi because my last name is Jedlinski and nobody can pronounce it, so they just default to Jedi, and they've been doing that since '77. Let's see. My background. So for the purpose of tonight, I have, my history is I've been a martial artist my entire life. I'm half Polish and half Korean. That's where you get the chink eyes and the Polak last name. I have been involved in Taekwondo, obviously, since I'm half Korean. Have trained in Muay Thai, wrestled for a year in high school, yada yada. Got started in jiu-jitsu in 1996 under John Lewis, who was one of the original 10 American black belts, I believe. As a black belt under Andre Pederneiras. You don't know who Andre Pederneiras is? He is Jose Aldo's coach. So he's always in the ring with him there. Started in 96, trained for like a year and a half, got to a 2-stripe white belt, moved to California, Orange County, which is now the West Coast capital of jiu-jitsu in America. But when I was there, there was nothing. So I'm in the mortgage industry. It took off. I took a 13-year hiatus, got big and fat, got laid off after the mortgage implosion, and went back to jiu-jitsu and have been training since late July, early August of 2009. Currently, I am a purple belt, which for those of you that don't know, it is the middle belt, more than halfway, with 3 stripes. There's 4 stripes on each belt, depending on the school that you go to, but that's the recognized IBJJF way of doing things. For a normal person, getting a black belt in jiu-jitsu takes about 10 years. So I train in Northern Virginia under Tony Passos. When I travel a lot, it's to Charlotte, North Carolina. When I'm down there for an extended period of time, I train with Jeremy Errol of Great Grappling.
Nice.
There you go.
Jeff, who you be?
My name's Jeff. I've been wrestling most of my life, or involved in it one way or the other. I started actually in kindergarten, wrestled up through high school, and both scholastic and out-of-season wrestling. Not a big background in freestyle, although I did enter a couple tournaments and just got destroyed because it's a different set of rules and never really trained it. But it did help with my scholastic. Chose to play football in college rather than wrestle, but I did do a couple competitions outside of that, through my college career. And then I was lucky enough to land a coaching job my first year of teaching. So I did 4 years of middle school coaching, and then I moved up to the high school level, and I've been coaching 16 years there. So 20 years of coaching and preparing kids for competitions, and I wouldn't say necessarily living vicariously through them, but I feel like every time I coach a match, I'm out there wrestling with the kids too. So that's who I am.
Awesome. So what we're going to talk about this evening is the grappling arts in a whole, and the competition aspect of it. What this is coming from, or where this is coming from, is it's been, I guess it's back in November now. I entered my first tournament as a 1-stripe white belt, and it was with the American Grappling Federation And I had a ton of just unknowns that were flying through my head. I had a preparation process, and we're going to talk about preparation. I had going up to the tournament, I had all sorts of nerves from a week out all the way to the moment I stepped on the mat and through my first match. And then at the end, I started really reflecting on the competition and started asking some questions of, yeah, I know why I personally did this, but I wonder why other guys compete. And are there any consequences, both good and bad, of competing? And I wonder how my preparation was compared to other folks and what they do. Because I know some guys go through just some crazy train-up periods. And then what do you do post-competition? What are some rituals other than just eating a big greasy cheeseburger? So I think it's gonna generate a pretty good discussion between all of us. You guys obviously have a ton more experience than I do, so this is just furthering my education, my edification, if you will. And so yeah, let's start with the kind of the first thing, and that is that competition. Why do we do it? Why do you guys personally compete? Why do you help others compete? What are your thoughts on it? I'll let whoever wants to go first.
Scott, go ahead.
Okay. So, like most of my answers tonight, they are going to be long, convoluted, and half a bit unnecessary. So, so everything I do is based on self-defense, right? I will be 46 in August, so the illusions of being a pro jiu-jitsu player or a pro MMA guy or a world champion for them. Actually, that's not true. They got classes now, but that's kind of beyond me, right? So what competition does is that so my professor Tony Passo said it best. We don't do jiu-jitsu to get better at competition. We do competition to get better at jiu-jitsu, right? Because if you really want to know who you are, right, when that buzzer goes off, when the ref's hand drops and he says fight or go or kumite or whatever thing he says, that is who you are to your base core, and that is the level of your training. Okay. It has been said, at least in the jiu-jitsu circles, and I'd be interested to see what Jeff's thing is on the wrestling circles, is one tournament, whether that be one match or 7 matches within that tournament, is worth 3 months of training to see who you are. Okay. So that is why I compete. In full disclosure, I haven't competed since, I'm going to go with May 2013. I don't know why, why that's a full disclosure, but just a heads up, guys. So.
Well, it's been a lot longer for competition for me for that than that. It's a reality check. Competition, I think, is a reality check of your preparation and your training. Obviously, at the high school wrestling level, we're allowed to have X amount of events. So in our particular schedule, we do 12 dual meets, and then we end up going into 6 tournaments, and then we have our postseason, which is our conferences and our state tournament. So competition drives a lot of what we do. Obviously, you want your kids to peak towards the end of the season, and there's a mental and a physical preparation that goes along with that. I think would also apply to BJJ. But I think competition is, obviously you want your kids to peak. It's a test of the mental and physical. Anybody else hearing that echo?
That was me. My bad.
Okay, that's all right. It's a competition of, again, like you said, of who you are. There's no other sport at the high school or at the high school level, at least, where it's just you. It's an individual sport. We have 14 weight classes. We have 14 guys that are going out there and trying to do the best for their team. But in the end, when that whistle blows, like you said, it's you. You can't say, oh, well, he didn't hold his block long enough, or, you know, the quarterback didn't throw the pass right where it needed to be. It's you, and it's a test of your preparation. And to me, that's an attraction. How hard can I work to be the best that I can be? And if I go out there and I wrestle hard and I wrestle tough and I lose, he beat me that day. But that competition, I go back to, I used to run triathlons about 5-6 years ago, maybe a little bit longer than that. And my mentality towards preparation, I took from wrestling. And again, that's an individual sport. So I find it fascinating from the mental standpoint to the physical standpoint to being out there in front of that crowd by yourself, and that's a driving force for me, and I think a lot of wrestlers.
Yep.
Nice. I like the point that you brought up, Scott, with the we don't. Let's see if I can recall it correctly. We don't compete to. Or we don't do jiu-jitsu to compete. Or to better our competition. We do competition to better our jiu-jitsu. Was that correct?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. And that kind of catches why I decided to compete. I'm a pretty competitive guy. I like to test myself against others, and more times than not, it's a humbling experience for me. And it's something that I just found that I need. You go through a fair amount of training and do a bunch of stuff, and you start thinking. I call it. You start believing your own BS, and you start thinking that you're kind of a tough guy, or you're walk into a room, you start sizing people up, and you're like, I could probably take that guy, or I could take that guy. That guy is going to give me some problems. I tell you, the first.
That's very Air Force of you. If you were Marine, you would say I can kill everybody in the room.
And I mean, absolutely, But I'll tell you, the one thing I love about jiu-jitsu is it has really set that back, and it even into my competition. I looked at both my first two competitors, and I ended up actually only having two. But I was looking at them and I was like, I gotta have these guys. This guy, he's a little bit older. I'm pretty sure I could beat him. This other guy, he just doesn't look like he has it. I've been training with blue belts and purple belts and a couple black belts and
world champion black belt.
Yeah,
world champion. Been training with world champion black belts.
But the other aspect of it is like Jeff, what you were saying is it's just you, and it is a complete test to who you are and what you're made of. Test your mettle, and that's kind of why I did it. Something that I've gone back and forth about is so let's see. I think I started late July, so August, September, October, November. So 4 months in, I had to count that out. I have one too many hits to the head. So 4 months in, I competed, and so maybe that was a little too early. Maybe it wasn't. but I'd be interested to hear what you guys have to say about when should a grappler begin to consider going live? You know, when should they start considering that competition aspect?
You go
Me,
first, Jeff, this time.
I gotcha. Me personally, I really think it depends on the individual and their mentality. In my experience, I have a lot of kids who come into high school, they've never wrestled before, and all of a sudden it's something they want to try. And as we all know, being out there by yourself, grappling with somebody is a humbling experience. So you get a freshman who comes in, he might have, did 3 months in middle school, or he has absolutely no experience, and all of a sudden there's a hole in your lineup where, your 113 weight class isn't full, and this kid's 112 pounds. So as a coach, you balance, well, do I talk to this kid and put this kid out there? He gets his butt handed to him, and he hates the sport and he walks away, and we lose a wrestler for life. We lose a grappler for life. Or do you sit down and you talk with this kid and you feel him out mentally? Where does he stand, and what are his goals going into this? So a lot of times I'll talk to an athlete and say, look, we're going into a tournament. You've never wrestled before. We've been out here for a month. We've been out here for 4 weeks. You have a double leg takedown. You have a stand up. You have one tilt. You have great hips, and you have a pinning combination. My goal for you as the coach isn't for you to win. It's for you to go out there and wrestle the best that you can and see where you're at. Get a taste of what it's like in a tournament competition, where if you lose, it doesn't affect the team as far as points, but it sees where you're at. What have you accomplished in these last 4 weeks? And when I go into these conversations, I won't talk to a kid, or I won't talk a kid into it. I let them make the decision, because in the end, they're the one who has to step on the mat. So for us, at the high school level or wrestling level, again, competition drives the way we structure our practices and where we get these kids in a certain period of time. Where what I'm hearing from you guys, it's I can enter when I feel ready. So I really think it comes down to the individual, where they stand physically, where they stand mentally, and the goals that they have for being part of the sport. So that's where I'm at.
Nice.
Well said. You can tell Jeff is a teacher, of young men. As a person who has helped instruct kids, who has taught classes when our main black belt was out coaching at main tournaments and things like that, and as probably one of, if not the oldest guys that actually competed at my school. So I'm an elder statesman. I will get asked a lot, should I compete? Do I want to compete? Yada, yada, yada. I'm a little more type A about it, I'm a little more direct on the whole thing. Like, personally for me, if a person comes up and says, I do not want to compete, this is a hobby, right? And my world championships is every night in class. I'm like, cool, brother. You're good to go.
Right.
It does not matter to me. But don't put yourself on the level of a competitor. Don't do it. Don't do it. Jeff, I mean, do you agree that you have seen guys who are gym kings? They come in, and as long as they're with the team, in the gym, on the mat, they are absolute killers, destroyers.
Yes.
The minute the referee drops his hands or the buzzer goes off, they crumble like weak flowers that they are.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So for a person, and this is not disrespect. This is just, it is what it is. You know what I mean? And that if you're going to come to me and say that your skill, your jiu-jitsu, your grappling is just as good as the guy who puts it on the line in a, not stadium, gym, high school gym, because where most of these tournaments are, even jiu-jitsu, right? uh, you know, uh, in front of a whole bunch of strangers against a dude he has never met before in his life and is ready to clap and pound and go at it. No, my friend, your jiu-jitsu is not as good because it is unproven in quote-unquote battle. That's how I face competition. So yeah, there are guys that they go out, the younger guys, they put it out on the line, as much as they possibly can. They come back with medals. In my hiatus from competing, I destroy them, and I will not take anything away from them. Because some dudes just turn it on. Some dudes just turn it off. But going up against somebody that you've never met before, you don't know their style, you don't know their game, you don't know if they're a bottom player or a top player, if they're explosive, if they're baiting you into something, and you walk into that with exuberance. That's a breed, man. That's a special breed.
Right.
So anyway,
it's hard.
That's my opinion.
It's hard, and hard can't be taught.
Yeah, it can't be. It can't be, dude. So yeah, that's awesome. You're in the gym. You're with the team, with people that you have grappled with time and time and time before, and you know their game, and you know how to stall, you know how to defend, yada yada yada. Is your jiu-jitsu really that good? Maybe. I don't know. I don't know.
Right.
I'm not tapping you, right? Sure as shit though. Last time I put that deep half guard on you and that north-south choke, you tapped like a mother. We're trying to keep this PC. You tapped with the quickness, right? Yeah. Now you can defend it the third, fourth, or fifth time, but now you know my game. You're not doing that shit in the tournament.
Right.
You're not doing that shit on the street, So who knows? But then again, dude, if you don't want to compete, that's cool too. Because at least in jiu-jitsu and the same thing in wrestling, you are good to go against 90% of the population. I always pose that question to people who say, do I really need to learn how to grapple? Do I really need to know how to ground game? I'm like, look, think back to high school. What was the one group of athletes nobody screwed with? Was it the baseball players? Nah. Was it the football players? Nah. And the football players were the guys that everybody wanted to beat up because the nerds felt oppressed. What was the one group nobody screwed with? The wrestlers. Because they were big, fast, quick, explosive, and they were angry because they were cutting weight.
And we're going to get into cutting weight here pretty soon.
Oh, cutting weight.
Hey, anybody can work out for an hour, but a lot of people can control what they put on the plate for the other 23 or 22 hours of the day.
No, I'll tell you about my story for tournaments. When I was freaking 43, man. I mean, I have never felt. I've been punched in a street fight. I've had my nose broken. I've had everything. I have never felt like my head was going to explode more than when I was cutting weight for my last tournament.
Hey, I got a follow-up question.
Okay.
That's all right. You're talking about that guy who's just happy to be in the gym and working out with the team, and he knows the opponents in the gym and all that kind of stuff. Think there's an over sense of confidence in defending themselves in a street fight?
Man, that's a great question. I think it is. So the guy who goes, look, this is my hobby. I am in shape. My cardio is squared away. I'm happy to help. I come out to the camps to help the competitors, and I know my lane. That guy is not fooling himself, right? The dude who goes, oh, no, I'm just as good as you. I'm a badass, blah, 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 blah. Oh, I'm going to do the competition. Excuse happens. Oh, I'm going to do the competition. Oh, I can't cut weight. I'm going to blah, 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 blah. But me, I'm a BAMF. That guy's fooling himself.
Right.
That guy's fooling. To a degree,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I am biased toward all grapplers, right? I have said it in many podcasts before, and that, the saying of, and I will change it with respect to the audience, that grappling is an ocean and no one else knows how to swim, right?
Yeah.
So to a degree, that person is not fooling himself, right? But to a degree, I think a lot of people who don't train all ranges of self-defense are fooling themselves. But that's another tangent.
Gotcha.
No, you're absolutely right about that. Yeah, something that you hit on was the hobbyist who they just go in, they just want to grapple to stay in shape and maybe relive old high school days or something like that. They are leaps and bounds above the normal person who does nothing.
Yep.
But thinks that they can fight because in my job. I've had to go hands-on with several people, arresting them, and I've only had 2 go pretty dirty, which I'm really lucky. But most of my clients are they like to obey orders. So that's one of the nice things about being in the Air Force.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, both of those instances, we were on the ground immediately. And I mean, I had my police defensive tactics to fall back on. I was raised in judo for a little bit, and I don't think I had been through Krav at that point, but I had something to rely on. So even your hobbyist, if they find themselves in a fight, they know what they're going to be able to do, and if nothing else, I think they have enough background to defend themselves long enough to for somebody else to intervene or to keep the guy from seriously hurting them.
Yeah.
So now let's talk about some of the consequences, both good and bad, of competing. When I was done with my matches, and if anybody wants to see how bad I got beat, you can go on my page. There's AGF Fight 1 and Fight 2. And Fight 1, I just got mopped up on. But, the guy was good. And I'll say I was the only one to score on him. There was like 30 seconds in the match, and I kind of went for the Hail Mary choke, tried to get a baseball bat choke in there. I just couldn't do it, but I was able to get knee on belly, and that gave me a couple points. But apparently, because he did our weight class, which was light heavyweight, and he went on to do the Open, and nobody else scored on him, and he actually took first in both divisions. So, I mean, my hat's off to the guy. If he ever watches this, well done. But one of the things I did was I fought off an arm bar and a Americana. And to this day, I mean, my elbow is still kind of giving me some issues about it. So that's kind of a bad consequence there of maybe competing a little too early. But I also kind of think that could happen to just about everybody. The good about it is I would say confidence in the game. I can absolutely well, I'll give you an example. I went to Georgia on a business trip, and I rolled into a new gym over there, and was very welcomed. It was, lots of good guys, but I didn't have any reservations about who to roll with. The moment somebody was like, "Yeah, man, I'll roll with you," I was like, "Cool, let's go," and it was awesome. It was, like I said, confidence in the game, and to an extent, probably confidence in myself. Not that my narcissism needs to be filled, but no, I'm awesome. So, But what do you guys think, both good and bad, of competing? Who went first last time?
I think I went first and Jeff went first, and then I think it's my turn.
Okay.
Hopefully, I won't take too long. So first of all, let's talk about you, my friend. So the words "awesome white belt" should never be used in the same sentence.
Oh, come on.
Okay. I'm not talking about you, but this guy who you said nobody else scored 2 points. I've watched that match. I've given critiques on those matches.
Mm-hmm.
He did not beat you. You beat yourself. Okay. Did he do some technique in which he manipulated your action, your body, and your actions, was ahead of the game on you, and imposed his will? Absolutely incorrect. Okay. You were very active, which, as a white belt, I absolutely respect. The more active you are without being spazzy, the more you're going to put yourself in situations where you're going to learn where things happen and whether it's good or bad. Okay. Your movement, however, put you into some good positions, into some bad positions, and when you got into bad positions, he merely capitalized on it. Okay. But he did not guide you down the path to your demise. He did a matador type of game where simply like, boom, I will hold steady until this dude does something dumb, and then I will capitalize. So he said, "Ole, you're stupid," boom, and he capitalized. Okay. But to say that he was this juggernaut going through, he had a good strategy of watching. Did he force his game? No. He just let all the white belts he went to make mistakes, which is the definition of being a white belt. You make mistakes. Okay? What did he learn in that tournament? Right? He had 2 gold belts, right? He won his division and the absolute. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Okay. What did that guy learn from that tournament? Not a goddamn thing. As a white belt, you don't know a goddamn thing. So if he went to a thing, yes, he's got a gold medal. Awesome. What's he working on? Right? Because if he's applying that to his own self-defense situation, or trying to get better in jiu-jitsu, you cannot play matador defense in a street encounter, in a self-defense situation. You have to be offensive and go. So everything he did in that tournament while he won, and it is a game, kudos to him, it is a game, but what did he learn? Right? I will tell you, after watching the video, which was genius, because a lot of people don't do that, from the feedback from your coaches, right? Whether it be Justin Rader, I don't know if Lovato Jr. looked at them, if they gave you any feedback, but anybody who trained under those 2 world champions gave you feedback. I will tell you that your chest is full of gold from those 2 matches. 2 matches? 3 matches? 2
Just
matches.
2.
2 matches. Then that dude has a gold medal. So you have gained a lifetime of knowledge and what to work on, what improve, what that guy did, what you did, because you lost, versus that guy who just said, "Ole, got a medal, pat on the back for capitalizing on your mistakes." But he didn't force his will. Be clear. He did not enforce his game upon you. You beat yourself. So, enough pontificating.
You are right. I mean, on that the first 5 seconds, my whole game was based off of pulling guard. I was going to go from guard to, if I couldn't get a guard pull, or if I couldn't get a transition from guard, then I was going to go to omoplata. And if I had an opportunity to sink in a triangle, I was going to try that. But the moment I pulled guard and he slapped my leg to the side and took me in side control is my biggest weakness right now. And I've work it every day I go in. But I was lost. I was like, oh no, what do I do now?
And have you worked on that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Every day, every practice that I've gone in since.
Right. So
And it's
he's got
getting better.
this guy's gonna do jujitsu, because the difference between wrestling or submission grappling and jujitsu is the guard. You take away the guard, jujitsu is wrestling.
Scott, I need you to come in and talk to my team. Because everything you said is what I'm trying to instill. I just need them to hear it from somebody else.
Yeah, be happy to do that, right? So you're going in there, and you're trying to do jujitsu, and this dude's trying to win a medal. If that was his goal, to win a medal and not do jujitsu, rock on, bro. You went in there and did jujitsu. You're talking about, I'm pulling guard. Here's my plan. I'm going to pull guard and try and get omoplata. For the audience out there, what omoplata is basically you're doing a chicken wing, right? But with your legs. Hard to explain, but you're chicken winging a guy with your legs. Okay, it's a position from the guard.
But at least
which,
you had
by the
a plan
way,
going in.
what's that?
I said at least you had a plan going in, because a lot of guys
100%.
go in the competition and they're like, I don't know what I'm going to do.
Right.
And I think it's a double-edged sword, because you can have that plan and not see another opportunity to score or get guard another way or get that takedown. And you're so regimented of trying to do this, trying to do this, trying to do this. So kudos for having that plan going in and knowing what your next move might have been had it not worked. Right. I watched the match, and we were talking before the show about my thoughts, but hearing a person who does jiu-jitsu describe what was going on, a lot of the same stuff, whether it's grappling or BJJ, but I like to hear hearing your thoughts on that match. That was good.
Yeah. So that dude, I mean, it wasn't even a pass. He wasn't control from the side that he was passing on. He did not control the opposite hip. He did not control the knee. You did your best attempt at a white belt guard pull, and he slapped your knee to the side and fell into side position and used what he thought was his weight, enough weight to keep you there. And between his weight, 'cause I think he was taller than you, right?
No, I think that guy was. He and I were pretty evenly.
Was it okay?
Matched in height. My second guy, he was taller than me.
But what happened was, you pulled, you were unsuccessful, and you went, God bless it. Why did I mess up? You're going through your OODA loop.
Yep.
Right?
Observe, orient, decide, act.
Yeah. Meanwhile, he's getting tighter and tighter, as tight as a white belt can get on their side control. And then you're like, okay, well, I've messed up. I've just burned up 15, 20 seconds on the match clock. Let me try and get out. Oh, wait a minute. I just gave him 15 seconds to really get in deep on this side control. Crap, now I'm in more trouble. Crap, now my heart rate is going up. Crap, what was that technique that Justin Rader showed me? Am I supposed to face away from him, or am I facing into him? Does it mean go in, or does my leg go under? You start thinking of all these things, right? But that's the classic example of your mind can't go where your body's never been, or your mind can't go where it's never been, right? So in that and of itself was your victory, because you have check marked something that hopefully you will never do again or be more prepared of. So that extra 15 seconds of when that dude slaps your knee and starts to pass your guard, you're going to be like, oh, hells no, I'm going to do this that I drilled on and retain your guard position or get to your feet. Or, oh shit, I'm past the point of no return. It's time to turtle reset and just to keep him off me, because I'll take the advantage over the 3 points from passing my guard any day of the week. The other guy, he was like, oh shit, this is easy. I just need to tap his knee and go. He's learned nothing. Nothing.
I teach the same thing, but I refer to it as focusing on the next set of points. So you score a takedown, you're not taking that 5 seconds to go, oh yeah, I got my 2, and relaxing. You're looking for that next set, whether it become a tilt or you're putting yourself into a pinning combination, or you take that shot, he counters, scores on you. You don't spend that 3 to 5 seconds. You see it all the time. These new wrestlers, they drop their head and they just shake their head, and meanwhile, the guy's focusing on the next set of points. You're on your back. You're giving up that next set. And I think that comes with experience.
100%.
And the mat time. Focus on that next set of points, or focus on that next move. I don't know the scoring in BJJ to talk intelligently about it, but that 15 seconds of just dwelling and overthinking. The overthinking will come with the more mat time that you have. It just becomes a natural reaction because you've been in these situations before. And the more you're into them, I mean, it's just like, we're all firearms guys. It's just like those draws. You have to practice those draws step by step by step by step, and eventually it just becomes second nature. And that's what happens with your mat time. But man, Scott, I need to get you to talk to my team.
I'd be happy to. I don't know if it'll do any better or worse, or listen to some old man. So, but hey, man, any way I can help.
It's an old man that can kick their ass.
Yeah. The original question, what are the consequences, good and bad? You hit on a lot. Like, I wrote some notes down before the podcast, and one of those things was I put confidence on the good side, and I put overconfidence on the bad side. And I think that guy who went on and got the gold, you were the only one to score against him. I think he's overconfident, especially if he's a white belt. Really, what did he learn? He learned that he was the best one that particular day, and that might give him a little bit more overconfidence than what he needs, and eventually he's going to get his butt handed to him.
Yep. Yeah. I fell victim to that. On my 41st birthday, entered a tournament, and there's a position called the deep half guard. I won't go into the intricacies of that, but just suffice it to say, it's that your entire body against one person's leg in order to sweep them and get on top. I had a buddy of mine. He was awesome at it. I got it, and I went from having a hard time sweeping people at my belt level to sweeping people 2 belts higher than me with ease. And I used it at a tournament on my 41st birthday and won the absolute. Pretty not hard. Pretty not hard, is that a word? Yeah. Pretty easily.
It is now.
It is tonight.
I'm not going to say easily, because the guys that I went against were good dudes, and I know them. But it wasn't like, oh my God, this is Spartacus against the Romans. I executed my game plan. Then I went to Pan Am's, and Pan Am's is the second largest jiu-jitsu competition in the world, right? And I was super confident, made weight, went out there, had my game plan down, and went out there and did the same thing. What I did not know, because I didn't look at the patch on the back of his gi, was the guy I was up against was a blue belt again in Caio Terra's school. And Caio Terra is a very famous 8-time world champion who specializes in the deep half guard. So when I pulled deep half, this guy knew exactly how to counter it. I was impatient and decided to go the wrong way. He caught my arm in that position. We talked about the omoplata. He just did it with his arm, which is called a kimura. And I got kimura'd within 3 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So that goes to the overconfidence. I did not expand my game because I had been easily dispatching people with basically this one sweep to pass to submission. I really didn't work on anything else. And I did this, week-long trip agenda expedition to the biggest competition I ever did, and it lasted 3 minutes.
Right.
But I will tell you, that was the greatest 3 minutes of my life, because what I learned from that humbling event basically helped me get my purple belt within 2 years of getting my blue belt, which is not common, because it pissed me off, it humbled me, it showed me that I, even at my advanced age at the time, that I didn't know everything, right? And was worth its weight in gold. So,
No, I went with the mentality this year. I didn't mean to cut you off. I went with the mentality this year with my team. I had a lot of young kids, and I had two seniors who've been in my lineup for 3 or 4 years, and then 2 kids who basically came out their senior year, and they filled some holes for us. And we went with the mentality of you win or you learn.
right, yeah.
Win versus losing. And just that terminology changed their frame of mind, because I can't stand losing. I hate it. I'm a competitive guy. I want to win. But trying to instill learning into a kid when he disappoints his coach, or he disappoints himself, or he disappoints his team because he loses, we went with learning. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm also a firm believer in you can learn when you win, but there's different lessons when you win versus when you lose. And just changing that terminology helps. So, that 3 minutes could be life-changing, in your particular experience, depending on what you get out of that and what you learn from it. And it sounds like it was humbling for you, because you've been doing it for a long time, and changed the way you trained a little bit after that, and especially, was it deep guard?
Yeah, deep half guard.
Deep half guard. Way to use that deep half guard probably a little bit more effectively and stuff like that. So.
Or stop using it. I was good at it.
Using it.
Yeah, I was good at it in training. It was time to stop using it and focus on other parts of the game.
Right.
So my deep half guard was akin to the guy who sets up the target at 5 yards, puts a mud hole in the target, and thinks he's a he's a gunfighter.
Right.
Because it's just easy. Results look good. Other people ain't doing it, so yeah.
Right. And then, Kevin, going back to the statement that you said earlier, with your 2 competitions that you had, you went to that visiting gym and walked in with the confidence there to roll with whoever it is you needed to roll with, whether he's a purple belt or a blue belt or whatever. That gave you the confidence to get in there. You might have gotten your butt handed to you, but now you're willing to take that step, maybe out of your comfort zone of just grappling with white belts and going up to that next belt, or a little bit further up, and learning from those guys as well. So.
No, you're absolutely right, and I've been since I moved to Oklahoma. I think I've been here 10 months, 11 months now. So since being here, not quite sure what has kicked me in the butt, but I've been doing a lot of breaking out of my comfort zone. Doing jiu-jitsu is one of them. Like I said, I've been through a large amount of training, and in just talking with Scott, actually, I was kind of came to the realization of, like, there's a lot more to this. It's interested me in the past. It's something I've always wanted to do, and I now have the time to do it. But I had this reservation of, well, what if I go in there and suck? Well, I went in there, and my first class, I sucked, and my second class, I got a little bit better on some things, and I still sucked. And then we started doing passes from closed guard, and I got beat every time. But then very slowly, that's not something that somebody's used to doing. Is it's going in and for in one terminology you could call it losing, but in the other terminology is you're learning every single step of the way. And now I'm able to do stand-up 5-minute rounds on full spar, and I'll go with white belts. I'll go with blue belts, purple belts, and that there's then been that mentality switch that we're talking about of hey, I got caught in said choke. How did I get caught in that? What did they do? One of my favorite guys to roll with. It's kind of like a love-hate relationship. I always learn from this guy. He is a high school and collegiate wrestler. Uh, he's he and I are basically the same belt. I think he actually just put on his third stripe. Uh, but like his shots, double leg takedown every single time. I mean, I'm flat on my back in the air, and then we land.
Right.
And he's fast, powerful, crazy good. But every time he submits me, I'm like, all right, how did he get there, and what did he do? And he takes the time to show me, which is awesome.
Right.
So I absolutely love it. And then, like we were talking about with firearms, again, talking with Scott. Scott's basically become my mentor.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
And shooting. I've done a wide variety of shooting, and since I got here, I've been trying to find a more dynamic range, and I'm lucky enough to be able to go work with the police force and some of their SWAT guys and whatnot in terms of being able to go shoot with them. But it's just like, all right, hey guys, we're gonna do this. Run through this course, and we're gonna try and do all headshots. So we're gonna do 2 to the chest, 1 to the head on every target, and it's walking and moving, transition drills, whatever else. Well, Scott has been, he's recently, I don't know if he's recently started competition or if he just started publicizing that he did competition, but that was one of those things where I had that same mentality. I did my first shoot today, and it was one of those thoughts of, well, what if I go out there and completely suck?
Right.
But that's where jiu-jitsu kind of filled that and said, so what if you suck? Go out there and learn. And this is what you're trying to get out of it. You're trying to get stressed out. You're trying to become a better shooter, and this is an avenue that you're taking to do that. So do it.
I can't remember if it was before the show started, or if we were talking. That's why I asked earlier about your training in jiu-jitsu. It works for me. My training in wrestling and my background in wrestling, pushes me when I was running triathlons to go a little bit harder and to just go. My firearms, I don't have much training. I've done a little bit with Bluesman recently, and I'm about 45 minutes from him. Got another session coming up soon. But I do IDP. Well, it's defensive shooting at a local range that we have, and it's kind of like IPDA.
IDPA, yep.
It's similar to that. We actually call it action shooting. So they set you up with different defensive scenarios and stuff like that. And I went the first night just to watch, and I'm like, I can't do this. It's drawing, it's moving, and I was really, really early in my pistol career, if that's what you want to call it. And I'm like, I can't do this, and I met a lot of good people. Left. Week later, I decided an hour before just to go. I'm like, I'm going to do it. I have all the stuff, but it was me going back to my wrestling career, me going back to what I teach kids, me going back to what I did when I was a competitor, and said, you know what, I'm going to do this. And I went out and I had all my shots were A-zone shots where they needed to be. I had one flyer, and I went back the following week and was humbled really, really quick. That overconfidence that we were talking about. But you fall back on it. So similar experience, and wrestling to me is a combative sport, and it's a humbling sport, and it's 100%. An individualness that I like, individual sport that I like, and I think that helps in a lot of aspects of your life, whether it's shooting or being a father, because we all face adversity, as parents, if you are a parent. I love the grappling sports and everything that it teaches you beyond the sport itself.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's kind of hitting that part about being a parent. One of the things that I did the moment I lost, I looked up at my daughter, and I just kind of had this thought of how I handle this right now. It's going to teach her how to handle disappointment, losing, all that stuff. So it's funny, grappling and I mean any type of competition really. I assume as long as it's real competition and it's not like I don't know competitive bean counting or whatever. It transcends to a lot of aspects to your life. But so, all right, competition. Getting kind of back to it, the preparation. Now I'll give a quick little snapshot of my preparation. I let my coach know, hey, I'm going to do the AGF in November, and I'm feeling ready for it. I think I'm good. I have to lose some weight, and other than that, I don't know what I don't know. So help me. And he's the one that helped me focus on developing a game plan. He really pushed cardio, and then actually I have to credit my wife to helping me cut some of the weight and making me keep to a pretty strict diet. But I started going to it's a junior competitive team training deal that my gym has, and doing that. I mean that was different training altogether. Going from an hour in the morning to 2 hours in the evening, and we would do in our morning class. We'll do we'll do 5 takedowns per turn, and you don't finish every one. You set the first 4 up, and then the 5th one you finish, and then you switch. Well, in competition team training, you do that. You do 100 takedowns, and every 20 you finish. So that alone, my word, that was crazy.
Right.
So I think I weighed 212 prior to starting this, and then got my diet right. Lots of lean meats and greens, and eating 5 times a day. Kept my metabolism up by taking office breaks, doing push-ups, sit-ups, that kind of stuff. Doing some runs, but the hardest part was having the opportunity. So like my office would go out for pizza, and I'd sit there and I'd watch them eat pizza while I ate my salad with no dressing. So that was tough, but I made weight. The light heavy weights in AGF are 205. I came in at 202, so I made the weight. I was happy with that, and that was kind of my training, a snapshot of my training regime and diet. So, what are some things that you guys have seen, both good and bad, the right way to do things, the wrong way to do things, that we want to focus on the good, so we anybody that watches this, they prepare themselves for success.
I guess I'm up first on this one.
You are.
How to prepare for it. There's the physical side, and then there's the mental side. And I think we started out with a lot of the mental side. The physical side for me is technique, conditioning, and nutrition. Technique, you got to know what you're doing, and there's various stages. You guys do belts. We have novice wrestlers. Actually, a lot of times we'll label them A through D. If you're talking to another coach and you say, hey, I got a C-level wrestler or something like that. So technique will come, and there's a gazillion moves from your feet, from top and from bottom, just from every position, and you can spend your lifetime learning wrestling. So that's the one side of it. The other side is conditioning, and I equate, and I'm sure this would probably fit with you guys too, putting somebody that weighs your weight and sprinting for 6 minutes. In your case, it's 5. You got to carry that, and you're going. It's an anaerobic exercise. You're not getting much oxygen, and we at least get 2 breaks because we go by periods where you guys do that 1-5. So there's the conditioning that goes with that. The hardest part that that I have as a coach is kids don't like to work out, and wrestling is the toughest 6 minutes in the sports. So how do you get those kids to condition and want to condition? So we do a variety of things. We run, we sprint, we jump rope, we play rugby, we play knee rugby. Kids absolutely love that, and they're getting in great shape, and they don't even realize that they're having fun. And it took me a long time to learn that. When I first started coaching, it was nothing but running. We ran for 45 minutes. We have a 2-hour practice. We ran for 45 minutes. And I had an assistant come in who wrestled college up in PA and high school in Maryland. And he's like, there is a couple different ways to skin a cat. And he said, we can work on 2 things at once. Let's work on technique and conditioning. And for a while, we were using 3 levels of training. I think at the time we were using blue, which is instructional, step-by-step. Let me hit my double leg takedown, but I'm going to lower my level, take the penetration shot, squash the bug, head to the hip, transition up to my feet, drive the guy across. Then we would go orange, which was basically half to 3/4, and then we would go fire, or red, and go 3/4 to live. And doing that helped train our technique and helped train our conditioning. The hardest part, though, is the nutrition, because where you guys are losing weight for one particular event or maybe a series, I'm not 100% sure how it works, but it sounds like you have 3 months to prepare for a competition. We're in competition for 3 months. And many years ago, when I wrestled in high school, body fat testing wasn't around. And my coach, Coach Holloway, he's actually getting inducted into the National Federation High School Hall of Fame.
Nice.
He's in the upcoming class. He's an absolute great guy. He's still an athletic director. He's actually a colleague of mine now. Awesome guy. We used to do body fat testing when I was in high school. And my freshman year, I had 6.5% body fat. I weighed 130 pounds when I got tested, but I was a 112-pound wrestler. So that's illegal now. You can't do that. You can't even think about having a kid do that anymore. So I was the kid who, the typical wrestler, sauna suits. I was working out at 5 o'clock in the morning. I see that thumbs up. Sauna suits. I was working out at 5 o'clock in the morning. I had phys ed at the time, so I was working out during phys ed. I'd get my English work done. Once my English work was done, I'd go back down to the gym and I'd work out. I'd have my 2-hour practice. I would eat dinner in front of my mom, and then I would go on a run, and the finger would go down the throat, and I'd throw it up down the storm drain. We had to be within 3 pounds of our weight. So I wrestled 112 that year, so I had to be down 115 pounds in order to wrestle off. Well, I could maintain 118, but I'd have to cut just to wrestle off, and then have to cut if I won the wrestle off for the actual match itself. So I missed the last 2 weeks of the season. I swore at that point in time that if I ever got into coaching, I would never have a kid do that. Now we go 20 years later. It's actually 10 years ago they started this weight loss plan where a kid gets tested at the beginning of the season, and that's called his alpha weight. So let's say he weighs 200 pounds. He's got 15% body fat. It's going to predict what an athlete would weigh if they had 7% body fat. So let's say that would take them down to 181.7 pounds. That kid, in theory, could then be a 182-pounder. Okay? If it came down to 182.5, he could only be a 195-pounder because that's the next weight class. My son wrestles for me. He's a sophomore. Unfortunately, was out this year because of injury. Had shoulder surgery, dislocated his shoulder pretty bad, and had surgery. But last year, when he was a freshman, he came in and he weighed about 128, 129 pounds, but his body fat would let him get down to 106. So I sat him down, and it's a balance. I'm dad, I'm a coach. And I sat him down and I said, "Son, what weight do you want to wrestle?" So he gave me his weight, and I said, well, this is where I think you would fit in best with our lineup and not only have a successful season for yourself, but benefit the team. So ultimately, we were going to get him down to 106. He was going to stay at 13 for a while and get down to 106. I said, you need to start. The wrestling season starts in November, and he's playing football too. And I said, you need to start when August starts, because you want to change. I think of nutrition as a lifestyle modification. It's not a fad. If you change things early enough, your body will bring its weight down, and you plateau as you come down. And then you got to change the thing again, and then you bring yourself down. Well, if you come down over time, you don't lose strength. You don't get fatigued. You're not weak. If you do it rapidly, that's where you have problems. And I told him, the key is discipline. Everybody's going to offer you the pizza. Everybody's going to offer you the cake. Everybody's going to offer you this. But remember, you're the one that has to step on the scale. So if you choose to eat that, then you're going to be doing the extra running and burning the calories and all that kind of stuff. And he stayed very disciplined, and we got him down to 13. He wrestled most of the season at 113. Then we started getting, we were a couple weeks out of conferences, and we dropped him down to 106. The kid never skipped a meal. He did it absolutely the right way. And he lost the most weight. He's the kid that lost the most weight ever on my team, but he did it the right way, and it worked out, and it was legal. So there's that physical side. And for us, we're making weight 2 to 3 times a week. We have a match on Wednesday. We have a tournament on Friday. We have a tournament on Saturday. And we're weighing in every day. So I don't view it as dieting. I view it as a lifestyle modification. And he doesn't drink soda anymore. He stopped drinking soda. And I think that's a life benefit right there.
Definitely.
It was a big, long ramble on. I'm sorry.
No, that was awesome, man.
That's perfect.
The right way to do things.
Yeah.
So in jiu-jitsu, it's more voluntarily. You'll have guys that they treat it like a job, you know, and to be a professional jiu-jitsu guy means that you own a school, and but you probably do enter competitions, because if you win a prestigious tournament or one of the big ones, like really the Pan Ams or the World Championship called the Mundials, which means worlds in Portuguese, or like the World Cup or the ADCC, which is the Abu Dhabi Combat Championship. If you win one of those, you can pretty much guarantee, depending on which one you win, you are going to be booked solid for every weekend or every other weekend for seminars. And some of these guys can bring in 10 grand a seminar, right? But that stuff is fleeting, okay? But for your regular jiu-jitsu, practitioner, competition is voluntary. It is a lifestyle, much more so than I think a lot of other martial arts, because it's a personal philosophy and things of that nature. But cutting weight the wrong way is still a major part in it. Because again, it's like, you guys got like me, when I went back to competition, I think I was 40, 39, 40, something like that. And I mainly did it the right way. I mean, I am 6'2½". When I'm in shape, I walk around at 225. When I'm not in shape, I walk around at 265. But for me to go to 250 to 215, which is my fighting weight, 215, for me that means sort of strict meals for 2 weeks and 3 or 4 sessions in the sauna right before, right? I mean, literally, if I go balls to the walls, I can drop 10 pounds in 2 hours. I bloat like a high school cheerleader. That's just the way I'm built, right?
I'm jealous.
Yeah. So that is one of the wrong ways to do things. But we were talking about the bad things about competition. Nobody in jiu-jitsu fights at their walk-around weight.
Right.
If you do, and you get to the higher levels, you're dumb.
Mm-hmm.
You're just dumb, right? Because that other dude who trained just as hard as you did everything as far as training and conditioning and improving his game and getting his mind right.
Came down.
He also just dropped 20 pounds.
Yeah.
And I don't give a shit what anybody says, right, wrong, or indifferent. Joe Rogan was just on. I was watching a little thing about him about it's crazy what we make these athletes go through as far as cutting weight and stuff like that. That being said, there is nothing more mentally grueling than cutting fucking weight. Sorry, I know we're trying to make this PG, but there's no other way to say it. There is nothing more grueling than, save being in a gunfight for your country, right? Or for your, if you're Elio for that, cutting weight, the last time I did it, it was horrible. You want to know about the way the body works? And how to screw that shit up, man? Cut weight severely. I don't know if anybody wants to hear about it, but I'll tell my story. The last time I competed, I was still a blue belt, and there's a local competition here called Copa Nova, right? Most jiu-jitsu competitions follow IBJJF rules, which is the International Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu Federation. IBJJF rules cut off heavyweight from unlimited at 215. Okay. When I am in shape at 225, 230, getting down to 215, give me 2 days, and that's an easy cut for me. Not a problem. Copa Nova, because it's a smaller one for whatever reason, what they say is, look, if we raise it all the way up to 215, we wouldn't have enough competitors to fill up light heavyweight, whatever, right? So I just don't do it. Plus, they try the best that they can, but it's usually a clusterfuck. Anyway, so their rules, huh?
Timestamp.
Yeah, timestamp. Their weight limitation stops at 200, right? So for big guys, going from 225 to 215, not a problem. Going from the 215 mark to 200, it's like that getting over the mountain, man. It's like, I got some intracellular water fat stuff keeping me from doing this, and it was horrible. But I had a lot of guys, who wanted to compete, that didn't do other competitions, and they wanted to do it, and they wanted me to be there with them, and I finally said, okay. So what I did, because I think at the time, I was walking around like at 235, and the competition was in a month and a half, right? Certain thing happens, I'm a month out, I'm 228. So I'm 28 pounds over, a month out. Not that I was fat. At 225, dudes, I'm ripped, right? So it happens. I'm like, I'm not going to make this unless I really commit. So what I did is I put out to my family and friends. I go, and I started like a little charity drive. Okay, this is what I'm doing. I've got to drop 28 pounds in a month. So I said, hey, whatever you want to donate, whether it be a penny, $1, $5, or whatever, let me know. I'll keep a record of it, and all of the funds I will match and send out to the Brothers in Arms Foundation, which is for Special Forces Marines, MARSOC, snipers, recon, yada yada, and it was going to go to them because I knew, because I didn't have to do the competition, but I committed to it. If I didn't have that driving force, that 28 pounds was going to be hard for me, right? Because I still had a job, I was still wanting to train, yada yada. 3 days before, I was at 213, and man, I'm gonna save the audience, because Jeff knows what it takes to cut 13 pounds in 3 days.
Yes, sir.
And you want to talk about not knowing about your heartbeat trying to race through your chest when you're trying to go to sleep, about all you want to do is drink a gallon of water and take shots of salts and all that other stuff. But what it showed me, stupid or not, was how mentally strong I could be when it mattered. The funny thing is, I mean, I've always had bad knees, right? And especially then. But the thing is, since I wasn't drinking, I wasn't eating shit. I was taking a lot of magnesium and potassium to keep my, and other, vitamins and minerals to keep my stuff high. I got to tell you, man, my knees felt great because I had zero inflammation in my body. Weighed in, which was awesome. I'll tell the story because that's another part of the awesome story. So it was the weigh-in was at Disciple MMA. Know a lot of those guys over there. If anybody is a real, geek out on the Ultimate Fighter, it used to be owned by Dustin Pegg, who was a very good friend of mine. He was on the Ultimate Fighter. He was in the UFC. Awesome guy. So it's him, Chris Merritt, who's my strength and conditioning coach now. And I go in and I weigh in, and I'm first one there. And I hop on the scale, and I go in there, and they're like, "Hey, I'm gonna weigh in." And they're like, "Okay," and I drop trout, man. I am buck naked in the middle of the gym, hopping on the scale, and I don't care. And they had a rep there trying to sell his equipment to the gym. He was remember the ab roller things where you would go out and come back in. We had a newfangled one which was more stable and did less pressure on the lower back or something like that. And he doesn't know anybody from Adam. So there I go, "Hey guys, I'm going to weigh in. Can one of you witness this?" They go, "Yep." I drop everything. I hop on the scale. I make 199. I turn around. I'm like, "Oh, that was awesome." I got my hands on my knees, and Dustin goes, "Hey dude, if you could do me a favor and go ahead and put your shorts back on, that would be phenomenal," right? And this guy who doesn't know anything from anything is just going, just looking at us, man. To this day, we still talk about that. But Chris Merritt of Beyond Strength Performance, man, that dude is a freaking genius. Got done. He gave me the dehydration schedule. The first thing of which was, he had my thing of electrolyte drink. I can't remember what it was, but it was his. One he likes is basically a electrolyte drink. Threw that down, and he goes, "A mile down the road is Faux Royale. Go throw down a large faux." Did that. And I swear to God, the next day, man, I was right back up to like 228, and I felt awesome. But I will never do that again, man. I will never do that. So,
yeah.
Anyway.
Hey, just so you know, they actually took away drop and trowel in wrestling weigh-ins.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you have to have it's defined as a suitable undergarment. And when that rule came out, we're all like, all right, the guy's cutting weight, you're probably going to end up wearing a thong or whatever.
Yeah.
And but it says suitable undergarment, and it actually defines that the cheeks need to be covered and all that kind of stuff. And then,
oh, Jesus. What kind of bullshit is that? Man. Because scales, dude, it's amazing, man. I went to one tournament, right, and I didn't cut weight. I was eating clean and stuff like that. Left that morning, I was 214. Drove, usually it's an hour and a half drive to where the tournament was. Traffic was screwed up, so it was 2.5 hours. Got on the scale, and it's at 216, and I'm like, that's bullshit. Took off my T-shirt, stepped back on, 215, good to go.
Wow.
Scales are
wacky,
man.
I'm also an athletic director, and I actually get our scales certified in Newcastle County. And the guys who come in and do it, years ago we had an older gentleman, recently passed, was awesome to the state as far as wrestling. He would come in, and if the weight class, well, back when he did it, there was a 98-pound weight class. He would put 198 pounds on the scale, and this were the old balance scales.
Uh-huh.
And if 98 was 98 and a quarter on your scale, he would write that down, and then it went up to, I think it was 112 then. If it was 111 and 3/4 equaled 112, like he would tell you that, and he did it the most accurate way. Well, now that's gone, and you're using digital scales.
Yeah.
And digital scales work off of clicks. So X amount of clicks equals weight.
Okay.
So the guys that do it now, they come in and they put a 50-pound weight on, and as long as the weight is on the scale is 49.9, 50.0, or 50.1, the scale's good.
Yeah.
So then they put the 100, and then the same thing, and then the 150, and then the 200. So if our scale is, say, 0.1 under, and your opponent's scale is 0.1 over, that's a 0.2 difference.
Yeah.
And I'm like, guys, you have to put the weights on that we're actually going to be weighing in at. And they're like, well, it's just a click or two. I said, no, that's 6 points because now my kid can't wrestle or their kid can't wrestle.
Yeah.
So when we talk about nutrition and dieting and all that, we want our kids to be at least 0.2 to 0.3 under on our own scale so that when they go to weigh in, we don't have any issues. But and then with digital scales, if you step in the back right corner, you're lighter.
Yeah.
You're lighter. So.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I'll totally use it that next time.
Tricks of the trade, man. Tricks of the trade.
That's why when you go to a major IBJJF competition, they have a scale outside of the competitor line.
Okay.
And when you actually do the official weigh-in, you step through and you step on another scale, and they're supposed to be calibrated the same way, right? But anything less than a major IBJJF competition, dude, you're stepping on the fucking Sensomatic from Bed Bath & Beyond, you know? And who knows what you're getting, dude? I've been spot on, like that one where I took off my T-shirt and I was good to go. I've been others where I was like, God, I don't know if I'm gonna make it this time. Oh shit, 213, good to go.
Yeah.
You just never know. But so yeah.
I've kept it simple since then. I've stayed under 200, which I completely give to jiu-jitsu. But I think so. There's a competition in July, I believe, and then another one in September. Both AGF that I'm going to try and hit up, and I think I'm going to try and go to a lighter weight class.
Right.
So hopefully it works. Now, the one thing that really messed me up, I mean it messed me up hardcore, was nerves. I got to. It was a coliseum, you know, because that's how us white belts.
Coliseum.
We get a coliseum.
Lions and shit.
So it's called like the Tulsa Coliseum or something like that. It's just a big gym. So showed up there like 2 hours before weigh-ins. They wouldn't let me weigh in early. So I went over to the warm-up mats and I was warming up. One of the other kids from my school was there. Did some drills with him and whatnot. Finally got the opportunity to where I could weigh in and got to sit in the competitors line, and that's where nerves just destroyed me. You're sitting in a line, and yeah, I mean, I think we were sitting there for 30 minutes or so, just waiting, and the waiting killed me. And I started looking at everybody else in the line, and I'm doing the whole sizing up thing because I hadn't met my competitors yet as to who I was going up against. So I was like, man, it could be any one of these guys. And some of these guys were just freaking muscle, nothing but muscle. Just there's no neck. So I'm like, all right, well, if they shoot, I can't grab a guillotine on them because there's nothing to grab. Finally, they called us up, and I was able to kind of see everybody. But I mean, still, the other two guys were, they were. I think they could have given me a run for my money. But the nerves. I mean, all the way through to the point where the guy said, "Fight," which I thought was odd. I was expecting a go or something like that. But the moment the ref said, "Fight," that was the only time when I was like, okay, let's just work our game. But all the way through that, was nothing but nerves. And I mean, I'm pulling up like Ralph Gracie, you know, YouTube videos talking about pre-competition jitters. I'm pulling up Lovato stuff. I mean, just anything I could get my hands on that would give me some sort of mental stimulation of like calm the heck down. So what do you guys suggest for settling those nerves and yeah, uh, Jeff, what do you tell your kids that, especially your freshmen that are first time going onto the mats and all that?
Well, just a real quick comment. The fear of the unknown sucks. So when you're walking around and first competition, first time doing something, that sucks. I really think you learn how to deal with nerves a little bit better the more experience you have into something. Do they ever go away? Absolutely not. Can you control them a little better? Yeah, I think so. For me, I concentrate on having confidence in your preparation. The more prepared you feel, the more confident you're going to go into a situation. I think with focusing on the next set of points and not necessarily the winning and losing tries to ease some of that. But we teach our kids, or we try to teach our kids, to focus on these four things. One, being aggressive. Two, pushing the pace. Three, dominate. And I learned this one, and there's a story with this one. Have fun. I coached a kid 7 out of the 8 years that he wrestled. It was two of his or six out of the 7 years, whatever it was. I coached him for 2 years in middle school, and then he was going to go to another high school. That his 8th grade year is when I left and went to my present school, and he ended up following me. And he's in the state finals, and I coached him forever. And I looked at him and I said, Mike, I don't have anything else to tell you. You're prepared. Go have fun. And he went out. He ended up losing, finished second. Wrestled a great match against a kid who went on to have an awesome college career. But when he came off the mat, he goes, Coach, very disappointed, obviously. He goes, but that's the best thing you've ever said. Go have fun. And ever since then, we've used that. So again, we use aggressiveness, push the pace, dominate, and have fun. And if you focus on those things, I think it takes a lot of the worry away, because it's putting you in your offense versus worrying about the unknown and being that defensive guy. I'm a guy who has to get in my zone. My earphones go on. I listen to my music. I pace. I do a lot of visualization when I was competing, and that was me. I have a state champ who would crack a joke right before he stepped on the mat, but he could flip that switch. So I'm shaking his hand. I shake the kid's hand. I smack him upside the head. I smack him on the butt, and then he would crack a joke, walk out there, beat the piss out of the kid, walk off, and start cracking jokes again. But that 2.5 minutes that he was on the mat, because he usually pinned the kid, he was destroying him, and it was a switch for him. And as a coach, that was just so frustrating because of the mental preparation that I do and my pre-game stuff. It was completely different. But that's what worked for him, and that's what I got on that right now.
Yep.
What a
I'll say, all right, Scott. So Pan Am's.
yeah. So
where are we at?
what I'm going to say is, what an amazing journey of self-discovery. Without sounding like the dude with a shaved head and 6 docks on his head living on a fucking mountain. It is an amazing journey for yourself as a coach, of seeing different people and what they go through, and trying to help new people to guide them along their path. Mm-hmm. Right? That we're always learning things about themselves. So what I've learned about myself is, so by definition, by personality, I'm an extrovert, right? I care way too much about what other people think, but on the other hand, I'm a dick too. So, I'm kind of like, if you don't like me, go F yourself, but I kind of care what you think, but then again, I kind of don't. I'm me, mm-hmm. Right? So competition for me, like you, Jeff, I am fired up. I don't know if I'm nervous. What I don't want to do is I don't want to disappoint my coach. I don't want to disappoint my teammates, and I want to win.
Mm-hmm.
I want to win. Um, but it's not. I've seen some people have just debilitating nervousness to where they can't do anything.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm not like that. I've got to have my earbuds in. I got to be doing calisthenics. I got to be moving. I can't watch matches because then shit starts getting into my head. Unless I'm helping coach somebody, they ask me to help coach them and things of that nature. But I just try and remain active. I start doing some scenarios always of me winning for that visualization piece of thing. But I got to tell you, man, the minute I step in my mat, I'm in game mode. And that helps in that I stick to my plan and I go as long as I have a plan. When I was a white belt and competing, sometimes I didn't have a plan, and that hurt. I just free formed it. Luckily, most of the time I came out the victor. There were some losses in there where I could have thrown a rock at the guy and it would have been better. But yeah, man, I step on the mat and all that, it goes away. I'm not nervous. Even when I'm getting beat, I'm not nervous. I'm like, crap, this really sucks. What do I got to do? So it's strange in that. But knowing who I am, for example, there's going back to white men can't jump, right? Some guys, they're saying like, some guys, they don't play well mad. You play really good angry, right? And some other dudes need to be really calm. I'm right there in the middle.
Right.
To this day, believe it or not, man, and I don't know if it's just me being lucky, but to this day, I have never won my first match in a tournament. Never. I don't know what it is, man. I've always been lucky that it was an odd man bracket, right? So then I would be able to go again and win, at least a bronze. But to this day, I've also never been in an absolute that I haven't won either. And just so you know, with the absolutes, you have your division, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you have your age, which is your age, right?
Yeah.
Your age bracket, and then you have your belt bracket, right? The absolute is your age bracket and your belt bracket, but the weight limit there's no weight limit, and you go.
Gotcha.
To this day, every absolute I've ever entered, I've never lost. But that's because the absolute is after the weight.
Yeah.
Weight division. I don't know what it is.
You're that guy that needs the warm up.
Yeah, dude, I'm that dude
warm
that
up.
needs to get smacked upside the head and maybe a little pissed off.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The
only time that I've ever won gold in my weight division is when I had a bye. The first round.
So, I need to go take care of something real quick, so I'm going to step away for a moment, but finish up this and move into what do you recommend to do post-competition?
Well, I'll finish up with pre, and by the time I'm done, you'll be back. Yep.
Cool.
Yeah. So pre-competition for jiu-jitsu. I'm very fortunate that when I was Tony Passa's Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, he has his own association of schools. There are 3 schools underneath him. There is Infinite Fighting Concepts out of Maryland. We're out of Sterling, Virginia. Infinite's out of Gaithersburg, Maryland. There is Winchester BJJ out of Winchester, Virginia. So there's those main 3, and there's another one up in Westchester, New York. But the other 2 schools here are very large, so we would have tournament camps, and they're awesome because these guys, they're friends, but you don't train with them a lot. Right. So you still have that strange competition feeling, but they're not going to be assholes, right? So that's an amazing part of it. And we would have these training camps, man, and they would suck a lot of the unknown nervousness out of you. As far as preparing, I think all grappling arts, it's said about jiu-jitsu, but I think all grappling arts are that way, is that it's human chess, right? The guy who is 2 to 3 steps ahead is the one that's going to win.
Right.
And the way you start off by being ahead is by having your game plan.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you're good at takedowns, but you know you don't want to do it, you size a guy up. Well, actually, that's probably the worst thing is to change your game plan based at the last minute based on how the dude looks.
Absolutely.
You know, yeah. But you know, like that. That's what Kevin. Well, now that he's gone, we'll talk about that. Worst thing to do to size a dude up. Go do your plan, right? Because I know you know this too. You'll go out with little wiry dudes that are stronger than frickin' Hercules,
Mm-hmm.
and then you'll go out with big ass buff dudes who are soft like baby shit,
Right.
you know, and they gas in 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Just go do your plan, right? The thing with that though, you got to have a plan.
Mm-hmm.
What is your A game? What is your B game? What is your C game? What are your escapes if you get into certain positions? What are the signs when someone is passing your guard? Where is the point of no return for you?
Right.
I've got buddies who are flexible like Gumby, and the point of no return is a very small window. For me, the minute your hips pass my hips, then I'm turtling.
Right.
Right? Because of my lack of range of motion in my knees, I need to make the decision now before you put your weight on me so I can go leg under and get to a turtle position and still have enough room to get back to an inverted position or a Granby roll, you know, position to put in wrestling terms to get back into a half guard position.
Mm-hmm.
But that's a plan, you know, and that's the biggest part of your competition of knowing who you are, right?
Correct.
If you're a super nervous dude, man, maybe go off to the side. Everybody has stretching mats.
Mm-hmm.
Have one of the senior belts or your coach get you warmed up and get the blood flowing to get the juice flowing, so that will suppress the nerves.
Right.
You know, and when you go out, you go out. But know yourself. With me, it's just keeping me occupied, so I'm not thinking about it.
And I think that's where the warm-up comes in.
Yeah.
You know, if we tell our kids, you know, get a sweat. You should be sweating before you step on the mat.
Yep.
Part of that is to get the body ready, but
Yeah.
most of that is to keep the mind off the match.
Yeah, yeah, and to keep the synaptic relays going and firing, getting all the nerves firing at the same time. You know, I see guys out there that they do well because they're natural athletes, and they go out there cold because they're lazy, and they go out there cold, and they do great because they've got great plans.
Right.
But then they meet that guy who's got just as good a plan, who's just as athletic, and they get destroyed.
Mm-hmm.
And that epiphany, it's almost worse for like old dudes like us, you know, because they've been Greek gods their whole life.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, oh my God, hard work beats talent when talent refuses to work hard.
Absolutely.
You know. So yeah, so that's the prep, man. It all gets back to knowing yourself and listening to your coaches, your instructors, your professors, to understand who you are, because that's what all this is about.
Yeah.
Is understanding who you are. And that's the thing. I think I told Kevin this. You know, that one of the keys to jiu-jitsu is when you're rolling with somebody and they're twice your size, you're not going to move that dude. So you move yourself.
Right.
It's always easier to move yourself. Ergo, it's easier for you to understand yourself and manage yourself.
Right.
So that when you go out and compete, you've got that variable down.
Mm-hmm.
Because the other shit you can't control. You don't know what that dude did in training. You don't know what his school specializes in. You just go play your game. And try not to beat yourself. So.
You know, you were talking earlier about that. That what is that point of no return for you?
Mm-hmm.
We have a freshman who came in. We've been waiting for him. His older brother wrestled for us, and he was one of those kids we finally got out as a senior. And I try to describe him. Basically, he was a man in a kid's body.
Mm-hmm.
So his brother's finally with us, and my state champ, who he went off to college to wrestle, wrestled a year in college. He's now into jiu-jitsu. What kind? I don't know. He's good. He enters multiple classes or whatever. Comes out. He's doing a heck of a job. But he's one of my assistant coaches, and we put him and this wrestler together, and just for the roll around. And my coach, well, he's 184 pounds, 185 pounds, and this other kid's 126. So what you're saying about trying to move him, what he's picking up is moving himself. And we put him in, we call them scramble situations. So like if a guy goes to shoot a double leg takedown, I don't know if you know what a funk is, but guy goes to shoot a double leg takedown and his head is on my right hip.
Yeah,
I'm diving for his left ankle.
Okay, yeah.
I'm gonna roll through, bring that ankle over top, and come up between his legs. That's a scramble situation. So one of his regiments at the end of the practice is he does 5 shots, 5 continuous shots. So it's a double leg, never loses contact, lets him up, goes to a single leg, never loses contact, lets him up, does a duck under, whatever it is. Part of that regiment is getting into the funk position and just start rolling around. And actually, my assistant coach is teaching us a little jiu-jitsu from the situations, and just something as simple as lifting and shifting just the tiniest bit, and actually trying to shove his knee, your opponent's knee, up just a little bit higher, has really helped out. So we're trying to take that and use that to kind of combine that jiu-jitsu background with his scrambling ability. But he made it to the he finished 4th in the conference. My freshman made it fourth in the conference, went to the state tournament, and he was wrestling this kid Tough who had beat him earlier by a takedown at the buzzer. So my freshman goes out there, he's beating him 4-1. This kid 4-1. The other kid's a junior, and maturity level and being at that big stage started to come back and all of that. And he was bailing so early on things, or he was waiting too long. So he's still trying to develop where is that point of no return for me.
Yeah.
And that just comes with time. But it just, during this whole conversation tonight, you're talking defensive jiu-jitsu or competition jiu-jitsu. I'm talking wrestling, but it all comes out to be grappling.
Yeah, it's all grappling.
I'm really, really enjoying this conversation.
Good.
And so it's been fun.
Yeah, and so the whole thing is, look, man, the body works the way the body works. Right? And I can go into a whole discord of thing, probably beyond my headlights and outside of my lane and every other, saying that we can use. But I have learned more from jiu-jitsu as far as the way the body works that is applied to shooting, as applied to my even watching sports, like professional sports, right? So my dad's originally from Chicago, so I'm a Chicago, sports fan all the way around. I'm Cubs, not Sox, so that means I hate sports. But during the heyday of the Bulls, right? So the body works like an X, right? And I'll try not to go into too long on this because I want to bore you guys, right? But do you know what the definition is of you throw like a girl? Define that. When someone says that dude, he throws like a girl, define it.
Lack of mechanics. Lack of proper throwing mechanics.
Right. But what is proper throwing mechanics? It is if I throw with my right arm, I step forward with my right leg. Okay? Because the body works like an X, if I throw with my right arm, I step forward with my left leg. Right? Makes sense. Right? So there are athletes out there, whether it be Jordan, Magic Johnson, Wayne Gretzky, Sanders, Walter Payton, where these guys, the reason why they would freeze defenses is because their physicality was so beyond things, right? You watch Jordan, right? For example, you're outside of Philly?
Yeah.
Jeff? Okay. Are you a Sixers fan?
I'm not a basketball fan at all.
Oh, you're not at all. Okay.
I'm a wrestler, man. Wrestling and basketball are the same season,
Yeah,
man. Wrestling will burn basketball will burn your hands.
That's right. You're a firearms wrestler, man. You don't know any. You never watch sports. Anyway, good for you. But okay, so we all heard of Allen Iverson, right? Who was quick, athletic, big mouth, blah blah, but would go in the lane and score because he was faster than everybody, but just get hammered, right? Then you would have someone like Jordan. You would watch Jordan play, and the defense would freeze. Why would the defense freeze? The defense would freeze is because they're all waiting for him to shift to his left leg because the ball is in his right hand. They're waiting for him to jump off his left leg. He would jump off his right. So while the defense was waiting for him to get to the left and they're prepping, he's jumping off his right and dunking on everybody or laying up on everybody, right? So that's the way the body works. For us normal humans, it works like an X, right? So if my right leg or my left leg is forward and tensed and that's my base, my right arm is strong, which makes my left hand weak. And you start learning that stuff. It's the same thing with wrestling when you're shooting. You know, in a double leg, right, whether your head is on the inside or the outside makes all the difference if you're going to drive the guy down. In jiu-jitsu, when you try and double leg, right, you might have all the power in the world. You might be completely hooked around and your hands are going all up inside of him on the back end. But if you got your head on the outside of his hips, he's going to take your back by the time. You know, take him down. Oh, all of a sudden he's on my back choking me out. So little nuances like that about the way the body works. It's the same thing with shooting, right? That's why, you know, people go, oh, Weaver stance. That sucks, right? Do you know why it sucks? I mean, don't get me wrong, it sucks except in very certain situations, you know. But why does it suck? It sucks because my hips are my torso's this way, my hips are this way. I'm pushing and I'm pulling, and it might be great for accuracy because my body can't move. But in a defensive situation, my body can't move. And that sucks, right? So that's why you get more of the athletic stance, right? Of whether it be, you know, what I always say is this, right? And you guys can't see my feet, but I'm in athletic stance, right? I'm right-handed, so my left foot is slightly in front of my right leg, right? Nose over toes to a balanced degree, slight bend at the hips and waist, right? So what I always say is, you know, whether it is, you know, boxing, Muay Thai, Jiu-Jitsu, pistol, shotgun, AR, my posture doesn't change.
It's the athletic triangle.
Yeah, exactly. My body doesn't change because, well, my stance doesn't change because my body hasn't changed. Just because I have a gi on or a singlet on or a shotgun or a pistol or an AR, my body hasn't changed. So why should I change my athletic fighting stance because of it? You know, situations can change. I can be behind cover. Then, of course, things have to change. I could be in a vehicle, right? I could be up against a wall, right? But those details are kind of commandeering the situation, for lack of a better term. You know, commandeering the situation, for lack of a better term, to make you to change your body angles. But if I got a wall, if I got cover right in front of me and I'm leaning, I'm not worried about forward movement because I got a wall in front of me. So my body composition and position has to change. So anyway, I don't know how I got off on that tangent. Hope it was good.
It was a good one.
It was. I think we need to rename you to MS Squared, and that would be Modern Samurai Motivational Speeches.
Yeah, I don't know about that,
but you actually had a great segue, and that is kind of it's our last topic before wrapping this up. But that is the similarities between competition in grappling and firearms competition, and how they intertwine to one another, maybe some differences that are there, and how those two spheres intersect. So, I, I mean, I'm not. I don't think I'm experienced enough to even comment on this. So, um, I'll let one of you guys start it off, and if I have something of marginal intelligence to kind of add in, I might raise my hand and chime in.
So, I'm sorry, Kev. Say that one more time. Competition in what regard?
So how does the grappling competition and firearms competition, uh, how do they complement one another, and where are the differences that they're so different that you can't really uh, you can't correlate the two, if there is any.
You want to go first? Or you want me to take this one, Jeff?
I'm really limited, so I'm going to be quick. I've only done the action shooting. I've been doing that maybe 2 years, and it's not necessarily a competition where, I mean, we're scored and stuff like that, but I'm pretty limited. I think the nerves, controlling your nerves and dealing with that, at least in my experience, I use a lot of what I teach kids and what I've done myself as a competitor, and I use those. Although it's not the earphones on and the pacing back and forth, because there's that safety aspect when you're doing the competition with the firearm. It's more of the smoothness and making sure that I'm in my groove mentally, and having that plan. So very rarely do I go first, because at the club, basically, if you're a club member, all those guys will shoot it first, and then those of us who aren't members, we shoot. So, I'm usually in the middle of the line at some point in time. So I see everybody else do it, and I use that game plan. So going in, I know what it is I want to do, and then it just comes down to the execution. So I think controlling the nerves, having your game plan, and then just doing it, it is the correlation for me for grappling to the firearms. As far as training for that, and just shooting and going to the range, and when I first started shooting pistol, it was I'm going to shoot 200 rounds. Well, I shot 200 rounds, but what necessarily did I learn? What did I work on? The more I delved into firearms, the more I started to compare that to training and breaking that down. I would set the gun down on the station. I'd load my magazines. I'd pick my gun back up. I'd load it. I'd rack it. I'd point out. Well, I got my concealed carry. Before I got my concealed carry, I had to learn how to draw. So I started breaking those things down, and basically used coaching to learn how to shoot, and breaking down steps and talking with people and stuff like that. So I see that as the correlation. How are they so far? It is shooting athletic? I don't know. That's just like our NASCAR drivers, athletes. That I don't know, but I see that as being are they athletic? Do you have to be in shape? Do you have to have a strong core? Yes, but is that athleticism versus just a skill? So I don't know. I don't know if that makes sense to you guys, but it does in my head.
That's good.
Sure, absolutely. So I don't know if I said it on air, but I will tell you that, and we'll modify it again for this purpose. Like, hey, dude, everything is grappling, everything is jiu-jitsu. The body works the way the body works, right? So you were talking about a physical activity which requires training, drilling, preparation, and physical activity to accomplish a goal, which in competition is to be better than the other guy, depending on how the rule set dictates you do so. Okay, it is a combative, right? You can say what you want to do. You might not be going up against a dude, but technically it's a combative. I actually wrote a paper in college where my theory was that all sports, all contact sports, really all sports, and the definition of a sport is something that cultures did in peacetime to keep themselves prepared for war, right? So to me, a combative is anything in which which is applicable to war, anything that's hand on hand. Obviously, anything that requires transportation, firearms, violence, whatever, right? That being said, for all our baseball fans on there, by definition, then baseball is not a sport. Anyway. But I'm a Cub fan, so that's how I feel about it, right? Anyway, so with that theory, in mind, what can you learn, right? We talk about all the times in self-defense, is stress inoculation, right? Whether it be a sport, whether it be, your position, Kevin, self-defense, whatever, the level of of stress inoculation in which your mind can work at a heightened sense of activity. And activity, I mean by, your body going through adrenaline, blood pressure, lactic acid, anxiety, all these things going through the OODA loop of how you're going to perform. Has your mind been there before? And can it utilize the stimulants your body is giving you, right? Everyone talks about adrenaline being a bad thing, right? But we've all been in the zone where we knew exactly where we were at that time, and we were in the zone. At that point in time, you can't get enough adrenaline, right? Because you've been there, you're manipulating or harnessing your body's extra abilities when you have that, and you're using it. But if you don't know how to use it, adrenaline mixes with lactic acid, which causes freeze. Right? We've all experienced trigger freeze, trying to go so fast, nothing happens, right? And we train certain things to combat that, just like stepping on the mat and having mat freeze, right? Me, I step on the mat, I'm like, I go in automatic mode. Let's go do this. Other dudes, they touch it, their toe depresses upon the softness, and they're, what am I doing here? And competition, whether it be wrestling, whether it be jiu-jitsu, whether it be sambo, puts you in that thing, because you know what? You can get smashed by a dude in front of a complete gym or coliseum, as it were, and that shit sucks. Then you go into a firearms competition, and you see, some dudes that are squared away, some dudes that are not, and you realize, what's the worst that can happen as long as I am and everyone else is safe, right? And then it becomes an enjoyable thing. I had said in one of the P&S modcasts, the interesting thing is when I was rolling around with one of my MMA buddies, and he heel hooked me, not bad, but enough to give my bad knees pause, and I was pretty much out for a month. Part of that's because of traveling. Part of it, I just didn't want to mess with it, right? So I was doing shooting competitions a lot in its stead, and without jiu-jitsu, man, I'd go to the competition, I'd be nervous. I'd go, why am I nervous? There's no 280-pound dude trying to put me to sleep or break my arm, but I'm nervous. It's because my level of stress inoculation had decreased, right? Mm-hmm. So just like everything else where it is a perishable skill, right? Timing on a double leg, timing on an armbar from guard, timing on a scissor sweep. All those things, that timing, that myelination to learn those biomechanics, and that is a perishable skill, as is stress inoculation. It is a perishable skill, right? So if I'm not out there smashing or being smashed by dudes in jiu-jitsu, and my highest level of stress is going to the local IDPA competition, yeah, that's what's going to happen, and you're going to get nervous.
Right.
So it's always about pushing yourself, getting to the a higher level. In the mortgage industry, and I'm a VP of a mortgage company. I always tell my managers, if you want 1 through 5 from your loan officers, you need to ask for 1 through 10, right? Because then they'll give you 1 through 5. It's the same thing we need to ask of ourselves. If we feel that a certain level of stress inoculation is comparable at number 5, we need to be pushing ourselves to 10. So that when the 5 requisite happens, we're good to go, as opposed to pushing ourselves to that 5 requisite and we fall short to 3 because it was my birthday or a family member died or it was an anniversary or something happened for me not being able to train, and a perishable skill has perished. So those are the tie-ins, I think.
Good thoughts. That's solid. I mean, I just did my first competition today. I don't know if I said it on air or not, but previously you would have like friendly competition between teammates and 2 teams working together, and if I'm working with a SWAT team or an FBI team or something like that, we might go to the range and be like, all right, who can shoot better, and it's just friendly competition, but there's no real stress inoculation there. One of the things that I noticed today in my competition was I felt more stress when people found out that I was a law enforcement officer, because there's a predisposition there of, hey, this guy knows how to shoot. This guy knows exactly what he's doing. Now, I'll tell you this. I knew exactly what I was doing in terms of keeping the muzzle downrange, and I nailed some pretty solid reloads.
Mm-hmm.
But outside of that, I mean, there's guys out there that you're only looking at 5 pieces of steel and you're not moving. So, and I'll say this kind of on a sidebar, anybody who's looking to get into competition shooting, if there's a steel challenge in your area, it is a great intro because you're not moving a whole lot, if any at all, but it's fun shooting, and it's challenging. Mm-hmm. It really is. But I mean, my first match of stage 1, I was pretty confident. Buzzer went off, drew my gun, racked off 5 rounds, and the time caller called out 3 misses. And I'm sitting there like, what are you talking about I missed? It's like I had sight picture, sight alignment. My trigger pulls felt great. Front sight didn't move, but it did. I did something. I yanked the crap out of the trigger, or my sight picture wasn't as great, or my sight alignment wasn't as great as I really thought it was. But I just pulled up the results also, and I have you gentlemen know that I placed a whopping 36 out of 39. So,
hey, you were there.
I was there, and just like jiu-jitsu day 1, you're going to move up. It just takes time.
It's funny that you felt the pressure because you're in law enforcement, because the joke around here is cops can't shoot.
Mm-hmm.
And my dad and my brother were both police officers. My dad was on the county, my brother was on the state.
Nice.
Dude, getting back to jiu-jitsu, right? Just because you got a gi don't mean you can roll, right? Just because your job gives you a badge and a gun doesn't mean you shoot.
Just because you're an All-American doesn't mean you can coach either.
Exactly, 100%, right? Magic. We talk about Magic Johnson, right? Multi-time, multi-college championship, multi-NBA championship, coaching career, train wreck.
Mm-hmm.
Because he couldn't understand why people couldn't do no-look passes at the 5 o'clock, because he could.
He could, but he can't break it down.
Yeah, he was born with that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the cop thing, um, irritating to me
Mm-hmm.
on both sides of the equation. All right, because cops all think they can shoot, and they can't. Okay. More so, citizens who think they beat a cop in competition think that think that means something. It don't mean shit. It doesn't mean anything, right? I don't care if you wear a badge. I mean, I do because I appreciate it. Because when the fan, when the fit hits the shan, you are running two into the gunfire,
Mm-hmm.
and me, I'm looking for cover, protecting my family. But all the stuff going inside, I'm securing my family and myself first, right? I have no duty to solve that shit where you guys do.
Right.
So that is where you get the ultimate respect, right? That being said, in the terms of competition, the fact that you got a badge means nothing. It means nothing to me, whether I beat you or not. Dude, I got a buddy, Cliff. He is Cliff and Gil are both members of the Charlotte, North Carolina Police Department. Both great shooters. Cliff has his own training company. He's an awesome, awesome guy. I don't think he's ever beaten me once at an IDPA tournament, tournament match, whatever I'm trying to say. Does that mean that I am a better shooter in real life with him? No, not even close. This dude's worked riots before. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But does that mean a cop doesn't have to get better? Sure they do.
Yeah,
Their life
I think
depends on
that's
it.
part of their coply duty is to strive to get as close to perfect with their gun as they can, because
Hmm.
when they have to take that shot, I mean, there's a lot on the line.
Including their own lives,
Yeah,
and the livelihood of their family, depending on the outcome of that situation. I get it, man. I get it. But it doesn't matter to me if a guy's a cop or not. If I beat him, it's just like any other dude out there.
I got a question.
Hmm?
When you guys go into competition, are you competing the way you carry, or do you have your speed holsters and all
Yeah.
that?
good question. Today I competed the way that I typically carry with the holster that I have. And I'll do a little plug. This is a Forest City Tactical Kydex holster, running a Glock 19 in it, and I was carrying it at 3 o'clock. According to the rules of the match, I didn't have to shoot concealed at all. I chose to do that, so yeah, I'm choosing to slow myself down compared to all the other guys. Um, but I mean, some of these guys are fast, man. It wouldn't have mattered.
Yeah.
But I did that for my own self. If and my goals were, especially after my first string of my first stage, I was like, all right, my first goal is I'm gonna hit every string clean, and I was doing that, but I wasn't super fast. I was hitting 11 and 12-second times. So then I set a new goal on my next stage of I want sub 10s, or at least a meet of 10. And slowly, I mean, as the match went on, through that repetition and being able to settle down into the situation, um, which is eerily similar to how things happened a lot of times for me in Afghanistan. I got better and better and better, and I started hitting nines consistently with clean runs. So that's how I ran it today.
Scott, what about you?
I was just listening to the stats and everything like that. So, what was the question again? What are my goals when I go in?
How do you carry? Do you
That's
shoot
right.
the way you carry? Or,
Yeah. So that's an interesting thing, man. If the rules allow, I go from appendix concealment with my inside the waistband mag pouches.
Okay.
If the rules do not allow, because I'm going to be doing a run at Carry Optics for USPSA, and they only allow strong side. So if I'm going to compete in that, I mean, might as well go full potato. So I do compete with the gun that I carry. But do I have the two level belt with the inside Velcro and the outside Velcro and the speed pouches and all that? Yep, but it is my carry gun,
Right.
because they won't let me carry appendix. Now, the couple of times where they in the competitions where I've done where they have where those outlaw matches and I have to run open, do I do appendix? Yep. Am I faster than appendix than unconcealed strong side? Yep, just because I train to it so much, and I try to. But the thing of it is that whole thing of like, especially in jiu-jitsu, in competition, you hear it all the time. Competition will get you killed in the streets because you're going to get into a fight and you're going to jump guard, or you're going to do a reload in a doorway and stuff like that. It's like, no, you're not. And if you do, then you're going to do it anyway.
Right.
Nobody's jumping guard in the street. But as a big guy, Jeff, how tall are you?
6 foot.
You're 6 foot, so you're a big guy, right? No one's coming up to us straight on and saying, "Hey, you've offended me. I'm hitting you." Blah blah blah. No, we're usually getting knocked to the side or getting knocked from behind. We're on the ground, and we have to be able to handle our business.
Right.
If any dude came up and walked straight up to me, well, that's a bad choice. That's a bad day for them. You know what I mean? So we have to understand how to work that.
Right.
Does that hinder me that I do not, for the most part, and even IDPA, which is supposed to be the true defensive thing, they won't let you carry appendix. So I got to go strong side under a shoot me vest. I'd never wear that shit. I'm a t-shirt appendix. Going from there. But, and I've said this 100 times before, if I can put myself in a safe situation where the rules or the parameters of that situation I do not like and I do not agree with, and I can safely train in it, that sounds like a self-defense situation to me. If a dude comes up to me, whether it be a grappling, punching, kicking, stabbing, or shooting situation, I'm usually not going to agree to that parameter. No one's offering me an invitation that morning saying approximately at 7:30 in a dark parking lot, you will be accosted by this person. What are your requests? That's not happening, right? So it will be in a situation not to my liking, because I'm a gentle person. If I can put myself in a situation that I do not agree to those things and train to it, and keep those perishable skills heightened and tight, man, I dig that. I dig that.
Cool. Yeah, when I do that defensive shooting, when I first was doing it, I actually had a shake my head Serpa holster.
Oh, God.
It was what was available when I was looking, and so I had started in the summer and went summer fall, and then was getting my CCW and went inside the waistband and was originally strong side, but then went to appendix. Well, wrestling season hits, so I don't necessarily make it. Well, I come back in the spring and I go to shoot everything. Is if you have your CCW, you can shoot from appendix at the club, or excuse me, shoot from concealment at the club. So I went up to the line and he looks at me. He's like, "Where's your stuff?" I'm like, "It's right here." He goes, "You're going from concealed appendix?" I said, "Yep, absolutely." And like you, I'm faster from concealed appendix than I am from strong side, just because I train the hell out of it.
Right. Yeah.
So, and there's a place down in Maryland. I went down and I watched a couple of those. I'm going to start doing. They do steel matches. and they shoot IPDA. So I've got to, I think I have to go strong side. They won't let you do the appendix down there. So
Yeah, and you just learn so much. The efficiencies of the top shooters. You don't know what you don't know.
right.
You know, so the IDPA match that I do at point blank range is run by Harold Presley, with Dylan Glenn helping out. There is a national level guy. I think he's he's won a lot of regionals, a lot of states regionals. I think he came second to Bob Vogel one year, right? His name is Morgan Allen. Nicest guy on the face of the earth, and just watching him shoot and the efficiencies to be gained by watching him in his movements are unbelievable. He wasn't in my squad one time, but I got third place, and Dylan was second, and he beat me by .06, and it's because I had a malfunction on one thing, right? Cleared it like a tap rack, cleared it like a champ in the middle of the stage, yada yada, but he still got me. But Morgan beat me overall by 3 seconds.
Wow.
And I'm thinking, I didn't see him, but I'm thinking to myself, where in the hell did this dude find 3 seconds?
Right.
You know what I mean? So you wind up watching these guys picking up efficiencies, and getting better, and then you apply that to everything. What's more efficient? You know, not saying one. I mean, they're cousins, right? Wrestling and jiu-jitsu are cousins. But the thing you learned about getting to that scramble position, if you just slightly raise the knee and move it an inch to the left, how much more efficient that was.
Right.
That type of realization, right? Today I've been working on that last video I posted. If you guys saw it on my YouTube channel, which is Modern Samurai Project on YouTube. Subscribe, like. Anyway.
Plug.
And on Facebook. Yeah, on Facebook. You know, I'm watching this thing, and I'm noticing myself where it's basically a lateral stage, and instead of going bang, 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 and moving laterally to the next one, going bang, bang, moving laterally, I found myself going bang, bang, breaking my hips this way, and then coming back, right? A couple tenths of a second, right? But over the course of 3 stages, that shit adds up.
Yeah.
Where you don't watch him do that. That dude runs, Morgan, man, he's like a spider monkey. You know, he's just running around, shooting everything, and it's awesome. You know, it's awesome. So, and that, you know, speed, hitting rounds on target, fast and efficiently, that's a benefit, no matter what, whether it be a game or in real life. That is a benefit. And if that's a gaming training scar, I'll take it.
Right.
Take it all day.
Yeah. So, final thoughts on anything that we talked about tonight? Jeff, I'll let you go, Jeff.
Yeah, Jeff.
Well, as I said earlier, you know, I appreciate the opportunity to be on. It's been fun. You know, I might be a little bit more motivated here to get back on the mat. Obviously, I have some bad knees, so and I had surgery going right into season. I had surgery in October, and it was an 8-week recovery. And the day I got cleared was the day wrestling started. So I didn't get on the mat as much early in the season, and then other things happened. So a little bit more motivated to get back on the mat, especially through this conversation. So I enjoyed it, and had some knowledge bomb dropped on me tonight. But it's good to see the connection between the two, and picked up some firearms knowledge tonight too. So I appreciate it.
Yeah, I will echo that. I mean, I've always been a fan of wrestling, especially since when my freshman year in high school I sucked at it because I was a baseball and football player and blah blah blah. So yeah, man, they're cousins. You know, and they really, really are the same thing with a different skill set. That's it. That's it. You know, yeah, guys, just go train. Decide what it is. Go train. Don't fool yourself. You got to train in all the ranges: long, firearms, medium, kicks. You know, maybe some long punches, medium to up close, elbows, knees, dirty boxing, and the ground. Stop fooling yourself. You know, I mean, I feel, you know, of all things, as far as like edged weapons, I, what I know about it could fill a thimble. You know, and that's not good, right? I just received some great medical training on an all-day seminar from Greg Elfritz. I think my med kit or whatnot is pretty squared away, but I know that can get better. But yeah, guys, don't fool yourself, man. Your gun is not a talisman. Your wrestling or jujitsu by itself ain't gonna do shit against multiple attackers or dudes with weapons. You know, talk about false sense of security, right? Get out there, train all the ranges, because you know what? It's all the same. Your body works the way the body works. The way you manipulate a firearm, the way you manipulate a knife, the way you grapple, the way you punch, the way you kick, your mindset, your awareness. It's not separate disciplines. It's all the same thing with different tools. So that's how I'm going to end it. And competition is a tool to get your mindset there, to get your awareness heightened, for self-discovery, knowing who you are, and putting that shit on the line. You got to put it on the line. And if not, cool. But then you don't know. Then you don't know. So.
Absolutely. I'll wrap it up with I guess more of a focused message towards anybody that's in law enforcement, getting into it, military, anything. You know, we as being part of that community, we get a lot of training, and it's easy to develop a false sense of security inside that training, and yeah, Scott, it's just as you said. I mean, being involved in training and using those tools, you know, it tests you. It makes you know. It makes you more self-aware, and that's what we need. I mean, I'll tell you, jiu-jitsu in and of itself has opened my eyes up to a lot of scary people out there, and guys that I would look at them and I would say, oh yeah, if I had to arrest that guy, no problem. I'd easily be able to grab his arm and basically arm drag him down to the ground, put him in a handcuffing position, or be able to use other tools on my belt to order him down into a position of disadvantage and go into a handcuffing position from there. You know, a lot of times we find ourselves working alone. And I'll tell you, there are guys out there that I don't care if you put them in a position of disadvantage, they can move from there and make your day very bad very quick. So you need to be in some sort of training. Edged weapons are scary. I've had enough training to know that. Medical, get out there and be an EMT. I got to go through the Army Combat Medic course. It was a satellite course when I was a young airman. Got my EMT from that. Went on to get my EMTI. I've since lapsed in that, but the knowledge that has given me. I'm also a CLS, lapsed in CLS instructor and TCCC instructor. All those things have lapsed, but it has given me a foundation of knowledge to be able to work from. And yeah, the knowledge is one thing, but having that practical application is a whole nother. So I think we had a great discussion. I mean, I really dig these.
Yeah.
We're still over 2 hours, but
yeah. It was fun. It was neat.
It was good. Well, It's been a couple months between the two videos, so maybe a couple months down the road we can think of something else awesome to talk about. I can get off my butt and coordinate, a chat or whatnot. Uh, but if anybody has anything they want us to discuss, feel free to drop it in comments or go direct with any of us to talk about it. One I did want to mention, Scott was talking about the PNS modcast. That's primary and secondary. It's a freaking gold mine of information. I recommend anybody to go on there and just be a sponge and absorb the mass amount of knowledge that's out there. It is legit. So yeah, I have nothing else to add.
Yeah. I'll just go on that because it is such a passion of mine. Matt Landfair, who has started primary and secondary, the forum and the Facebook groups. It is a place for people to go and learn, whether you are a professional like you are, Kevin. There's the novice section. There is gear. There is precision. There's firearm competitions. And I think the thing that we are bringing is that it is purpose-driven. It is not just filler for the internet. Come and express your feelings. We really try and put out and maintain, while still having a good time, but put out and maintain good information with a very low signal-to-noise ratio. So I invite you guys out there. I'm a moderator on the novice section and the firearms competition groups on those, as well as a junior moderator thing on the forums. But guys, we've got some serious subject matter experts on there, law enforcement people, tier 1 operator guys who are moderators, everybody from Army snipers to police force SWAT guys. It's an amazing place for you to go and augment whatever other forms of media that you are looking at, like how I think Kevin and I first met through Practically Tactical, which is another very, 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 very good resource for information for people. I'll just finish up with my tagline. Be good, stay safe, get training.
Awesome. Jeff, final goodbyes.
Again, I appreciate it, and you guys had mentioned medical. I took Bluesman's 10-minute medical class about 2 years ago, and I was in Boy Scouts and had medical training through there and all that, CPR, first aid training. But that really opened up to my eyes to trauma, and so I have medical kits, blowout kits in all my bags now. Carry tourniquets on person every day. But good time tonight. I really appreciate it, and thanks a lot.
Yeah.
Fantastic. All right, well, thanks for watching. And again, if there's any other topics you'd like to see discussed or specifics or anything like that, hit any of us up, and we'll be happy to discuss them for you. Quick plugs: Forest City Tactical, great holsters, primary and secondary, wealth of information. Just soak it up and don't add fodder to it. Use the search function. And Practically Tactical. That's a great podcast as well. They have a Wednesday evening show. That's actually how all of us met.
Yep.
It's a lot of like-minded folks that get together, share information, and we're very passionate about what we do. So thank you all for watching. I think we have 3 viewers now. Yes, all-time new record. Oh, down to 2. Lost 1. All right, anyways, have a good night.
All right.